It's been a long day, Facebook fam. A long, long day. So, if you caught my live this morning, you know that I woke up to a crap ton of notifications about some drama going down on Twitter involving plagiarism. And yeah, it was kind of a lot, and there was a lot going on, and there's been a lot more that's come out of the whole situation. So I figured I um, that I would come back on and give a rundown of what ended up happening with all of that. Um, so if you didn't watch my video earlier, are not in the writers community, romance writing community on Twitter, what happened this morning was the big, the big hubaloo, or whatever you want to call it, is an author, or shall I say scammer, by the way, by the name of Christiane Saruya. I wrote down the name so I would get it correct this time. Christiane Sarura was targeted and called out as a plagiarizer. Um, she was called out by Tessa Dare and Courtney Ballon, who found out through their readers that whole paragraphs and sections of their work were found in this book that has been on the USA Today bestseller list and was nominated for, that was put in for a Rita. And this author was apparently also like a judge for the Rita competitions. And for those who don't know, the Rita is like one of um, the biggest awards in the romance world. It's run by the Romance Writers of America, which is a huge association for romance authors, and it's a big deal. So this whole thing was just very eye-opening for the community. So like I said, Tessa Dare and Courtney Milan were some big names that started calling this lady out hardcore on Twitter, and it kind of blew up. And as of now, there's 20 plus authors that have been plagiarized by this woman's work. Not only did she plagiarize it in one book, she plagiarized it in multiple books. And not only did she use multiple authors across multiple books, but she reused the same passages in multiple books. So not only was she scamming the authors out of their work, she was scamming readers of quality readership. And I think that also was part of the whole uproar. Um, so over the course of the day, she dropped some really random tweets. One saying that it was a ghostwriter that she used and that she got from Fiverr. So, of course, ghostwriters are now dragged into this. Fiverr is now dragged into this. She was an indie author, so indie authors got dragged into this. Kindle Unlimited got, and Amazon got dragged into this because they were blaming Kindle Unlimited for giving space for these book mills to profit, and thus leading to someone like Christiane Zuruya becoming as big and as popular as she was as a scammer. And this lady didn't just have ebooks either. She had ebooks, she had print books, she had audiobooks. She was rolling in the dough on blatant plagiarized work. Blatantly plagiarized work. Um, and not even like she picked up some random indie author stuff either. I'm gonna go through some of the names here, but she had Lisa Claypass, Cressley Cole, Nora Roberts, Jenna Showalter, and Carolyn Sparks, just to name the ones that I was familiar with out of the 20 that have been named so far. And that's just so far. That's not even all of it. That's just so far as of like 30 minutes ago when I double checked all of this before I came on here because I didn't want to make a super long video about this because it's a lot. I'm basically kind of over it, and it's really frustrating because it's like, who do you trust now? Like, can we, like I said, Amazon was dragged into this. So now there's a call for reform with Kindle Unlimited with Amazon, and having a plagiarism checker be a part of the publishing process to help cut back on these book mills, whether or not that happens is another thing. Fiverr was dragged into this. I mentioned before, I use Fiverr a lot for and there are good people that work on Fiverr, but it is a gig economy. You're taking a leap of faith on getting work at a bargain basement price. So I don't blame Fiverr, and I don't even blame the ghostwriter. I still blame Chris because she should have checked her stuff. You know, if she cared at all about right craft, about doing things professionally and the correct way, she would have checked it, she would have seen it, and she would have been in this mess. But then that's even if you believe her story about having the ghostwriter from Fiverr, because there were a few ghostwriters that came out and said that she approached them with the plagiarized passages already ready, and they just wrote around those plagiarized passages. So, I mean, you know, that's like, they're like, I don't know if ghostwriters now need to be more on top of their game as far as making sure that they're not falling into a trap like that. But I know it sucks for people who rely on ghostwriting to make a living, because now with this whole thing, now you have like, oh, ghostwriters is scamming. And I'm like, no, there's just some people who have ideas and they just can't write them down. And that's why we have ghostwriters. You know, that's not a big deal. I mean, I wouldn't use a ghostwriter because I'm talented in the writing department, but other people aren't. So I'm not even mad at ghostwriters. I'm not mad at Fiverr. And yeah, Amazon could use some help. They definitely should have a plagiarism check on there. But I mean, they have so much control on doing all this stuff that I'm kind of, if it wasn't the major marketplace, I wouldn't even use Amazon anymore, because their whole situation with reviews and stuff is very detrimental to indie authors and self-published authors. And speaking of indie authors, this lady touted herself as an indie author, you know, so that looks bad on the rest of us indie authors. And there was discussion in the threads about it almost got out of hand about with the back and forth debate between being an indie author and a traditionally published author. And that's an ongoing debate. It comes up all the time. And I don't believe that one is necessarily better than the other, but traditional publishing has this, you know, clout to it because of all the hoops and jumps and everything else that they make you go through as far as getting published. So that was also disheartening to see that started up, but thankfully it got redirected back to the real issue here of plagiarism and book mills and the monetization of everything that we do. So yeah, it's just a hot mess. And if you're a new writer, author, and you're finding out about this and you're getting discouraged, and you're worried about your work being plagiarized or being seen as a plagiarizer or whatever, honestly, just make sure you do your due diligence. Get your work copyrighted. Make sure when you write, you run it through a plagiarism checker. There's plenty of them out there online. I know I use Grammarly, and in the premium version, they have a plagiarism checker. So I know that, like, even I hate even just having like one or two sentences that are like too close to somebody else's. So like for me, if it's more than like if Grammarly says that there's more than like 1 maybe 2% of plagiarism in my work, and it's not something like he crossed the room, you know? I mean, granted, that's very lazy writing right there, but sometimes he just needs to cross the room, right? But like, if it's something more than that, then yeah, I'm gonna reword my sentence so I don't have that issue and I won't have that problem. It's a matter of professionalism and taking pride in your craft. And I think, and that's why it's so disheartening for all of us authors for situations like this to happen. And I'm not saying that this Chris person is the only one. There's plenty more of them out there. And it's just a matter of them coming to light. And if you're one of those people, then be forewarned that the writing community is not going to stand for it. If you're found out, you're done. And this Chris Saruya person knows that firsthand because as of right now, she is off Twitter. She has taken down her website. Her books, people have been saying that they had all of her books suddenly have updates to them. And when they update the book, it completely erases the copyrighted, the plagiarized passages. So we know about it now. We're going to be more diligent about it now. And the next person that's found out, it might not be this big of a deal, but they're going to be found out and they're going to be called out, and we're going to put a stop to it. Like, just stop. All right. I really didn't mean to like go off like this. It's just the more I think about it again, the more I get worked up because it's not just about us as writers and about authors, it's also about our readers. They buy our books expecting to get what they paid for, an original storyline, an original work. They want to be entertained. And yes, there are tropes. There are certain things that are going to be common across all romance, across all fiction, just in general. But that doesn't mean, like I said in my first video, there's not necessarily new ideas. It's how you express those ideas that the innovation comes and the originality comes. So, like, I'm starting to get worked up, so I'm trying really hard to get through this without cursing or falling into any of that, but it's just a lot. And I'm gonna go to bed tonight, and hopefully tomorrow my Twitter feed and Instagram feed will be about happy book news, like maybe, I don't know, a certain Shifted into Love anthology dropping a second version. So yeah, keep your heads up, writers, authors, readers. This too shall pass. Good night, y'all.